finished the last verse, last sutra, and then we are now going to the fifth sutra. The fourth sutra, which we had a long discussion, almost over 2 or 3 classes, we had a long discussion on it. And then we are now, what is the cause of bondage and how to, what is this Varna Matrikas? So we had a long discussion on it. Jnana Dhishtanam Matrika. So we had a long discussion on this whole idea about how these Varnas, there are these Sadvargas, the mystery associated with different alphabets, how a language is used to make construction of reality around us, how that starts with the letters. Jnana Dhisthana Matrika. So this whole thing, how the whole Shiva Shakti hides itself and plays out its Leela, this whole game of creation in which we participate. When we know the mystery of these Varnamatrikas, then we can do sadhana and we can liberate ourselves. And when we do not make ourselves aware of it, we are caught up in this whole game of Maya, and then therefore we remain in the cage. So the whole thing was that if you are aware of these Shaktis, then you know how it works and you can make use of it. You can take help from it to elevate yourself spiritually. Hold the mantra sadhana and everything. But remember, the first chapter is about Sambhavopaya. Sambhavopaya is extremely meditative and it's for the best students of Shiva Sutra, the best sadhakas, the Uttamadhikaris. So, in the fifth sutra, he has to now define what is that spiritual effort that you will have to do to liberate yourself, to establish yourself in that high state. Therefore, he says, Udyamo Bhairavaha. That is the fifth verse. Udyama Bhairavaha. Now we have two words here to make sense of what is Udyama, what is that spiritual effort, what is the nature of it, how to reach, and then how you are saying you are talking about Bhairava Samapatti, getting to be in that state of complete inner harmony and in a state of quietude. That is what we are trying to attain. That state, what you are trying to attain, is being described as Udyama. That Udyama verily is the goal. So it's like means and end are one and the same. That is what is sought to be conveyed here. The means and end both are same. Okay, so let's make sense of it slowly. First thing is we will make sense of Bhairava and Udyama both. Now there is a saying that Shivo Bhutva Shivam Yajet. You be Shiva, then you meditate on Shiva. Otherwise, you will not get the adequate result. Like you will do the upasanas and pujas and everything for Brahma Bhava Prapti. You want to attain that level. That is why we are doing all the sadhanas. So here there is another such beautiful advice which is there in this Spanda Sastra, which says, Prithag mantraha prithag mantrina siddhyati kadachana. Mantra or mantra ke sadhak, the mantra and the person who is chanting the mantra, if they are two, they are not one, he'll not get mantra siddhi. What is the secret? When we are meditating on Lord Shiva, when you are meditating on Gayatri or Brahman or anything else that you are meditating on, you have to reach that state where you are no more there as an individual. You are filled with that divine consciousness on which you are meditating. So what happened? Dhyatri, dhyana paritajya. So you will become dhyakara. What you are meditating on, that you are going to be. You are no more dhyata, there is no dhyana. There is only that dheya vastu. Same also with mantra. When you totally immerse yourself in that mantra, there is a sudden transformation of your consciousness. So, briefly, this mantra, the second word, so Udyama is that meditative realization which happens very suddenly, not through a lot of gradual sadhana. That is for the, we'll discuss that. That is for the students who have to take intermediate courses and slowly they'll jump to the next level, they'll ascend to the next plane. Here, it's about a moment of epiphany. It's like a moment where suddenly you become conscious of that absolute bliss, like in Vedanta, in Viveka Chudamani, sorry, in these Aparoksha Anubhuti, the 15 angas of yoga that we discussed in Yoga Sutras, it's discussed differently in the Aparoksha Anubhuti in the 15 slokas, where everything you are trying to dissolve your consciousness, you're trying to establish your consciousness in that ultimate truth. Here it is something similar. Let's first, we will have a little more detailed direction, but briefly on the Bhairava word, let's make sense of it. What is this meaning of this word Bhairava? Bhairava is Bharana, sustenance, right? Bharta, Bhagwan sustains you. And Ravana or Ramana, the destructive thing. He creates, he does, destroys this whole sansara also. And then a Bhamana, that is Srishti, he emits this whole sansara out of it. As if he is vomiting it out. He creates the sansara, which is Maya Sakti, by creating his Vimarsha Sakti. He sustains it, and then he also destroys it. Therefore, he is Bhairava. And there are different other meanings of it. We will look at all these meanings when we proceed in this discussion. So, Bhairava can also mean somebody who can protect you from the fear of sansara. Sansara bhayat. He sort of saves you from that sansara bhaya. Therefore, he is also Bhairava. You can also have an interpretation like that. There are different other, you know, elaboration of that word with some technical analysis using the grammatical tools of Sanskrit. We will look at that when we proceed. And then that Udyama is Bhairava when you're saying, what is that Udyama here? That Udyama is not doing chanting or doing pranayama or anything, but it's about the highest level of meditation, which is part of the Sambhava. I have told you there are three kinds of upayas: Anava Saktopaya, and Sambhavapaya. And these three chapters of Siva Sutras are about these three methods. The first upaya, which is for the lower grade students or the people who are at an initial stage of sadhana, they will do Anava upaya, because the main mala, what is the main mala? Anava mala. Then you have Maya mala, isn't it? And then, so that is what, it's sort of, you graduate from one to the other. When you have Swatantriya Hani, you forget yourself, that is the Anava mala. Then you have the Icha and the Kriya Sakti and your Jnana Sakti also get clouded. So you have Sarva Kartitva, it gets converted to Kala, a lower level manifestation of it. Expertise in a particular thing, you want to do something specific. Then the Jnana Sarvingrita, it becomes Vidya, the particular thing that you are interested in, that we have discussed earlier. Here, what he's trying to say is that you have that highest level of meditation, which is different from whatever mantras or asanas and all that. So, what happens to that sadhaka in that stage? He's saying, look here, if you are able to establish yourself in that highest level of bliss by meditating on the Swarupa of Shiva, these are technical jargon, and we have to make sense of it. So we have certain descriptions, certain articulation about what is the Swarupa, because he has already dealt with it. Chaitanyam Atma, Jnanam Bandhaha, all that we have already discussed all that. So we have already come to the fifth sutra. Therefore, I'm not repeating all that. So when you are doing that Swarupa Chintana, there are two problems in this creation. We have discussed this in Sutra number 2, Jnanam Bandha. The moment you want to manifest yourself, then your Swatyantra Sakti, the Pancha Saktis, Pancha, whatever you have, these Saktis, they become Pancha Kanchukatva, 5 veils of ignorance. They got converted. There's a kind of quick inversion of your energies into liabilities. Your assets become your liabilities because you're getting disconnected with your two problems there, Swatantra Hani and Swarupa Anavabodhata. You forget who are you. So you forget your Swatantriya. You forget who are you, your spiritual nature you forget. Then you get caught up in the limited understanding of you as a human being, having certain limited goals in life. I want to do this, I want to get that. This whole game starts in getting trapped in samsara. Now he's saying, when you are able to recapture your unity with that ultimate bliss, that Udyama verily is Bhairava. There is nothing called a Lord Shiva you want to meet outside of your meditation. No. He's saying that very meditation itself, the journey is the destination, as they say. There are a lot of gurus, they say journey is the destination. So this whole thing that you are doing is in fact what is the ultimate goal of your sadhana. Because by doing this kind of meditation, this very nature of this meditation is that it immediately releases you from Tividha Bandha. These 3 bondages that you have, you get liberated from it. That is what he's saying. And therefore, you will be able to move forward. Now, that's Swatantra Sakti of the Bhairava, and you have what is called an experience of the Samarasya, that Samarasata. There is ultimate harmony between Shiva and a Shakti, but it appears as if they are different when you are caught up in this detail, the phenomenal reality in which you are there. This is Shiva, this is Shakti. These all 2 aspects of that one unified reality, one unified tattva. And therefore, he's saying that swabhava, you have that swabhava. There is a typical sloka here, and this is there is from one of these. I'll just be taking your attention a little, not to disturb you much. So he's saying vyaktaye swaswarupasya Sutram Ishobhyavasata. Bhagavan is telling Ma Parvati about this. Paripurna Swarupasya Sivasyetam Chidatmanaha is mentioning it. Swaswarupa Parityagam. You don't renounce your Swaswarupa. When you are in a state of meditation, give somebody makes a phone call, you run. So what happens there? Swaswarupa Parityaga happens. But this is a meditation in which you are not making any specific efforts as such. It is active meditation. But it's not any human effort as such. You are so pure that immediately you are gliding very quickly and swiftly to that highest level of meditation of unity with Paramashiva. It happens instantaneously. That is because you have already gone through the Arnava and the Saktopayas. And then he's saying Karyam Pratyud Bhuvusataha. That Kriya Sakti, this Jnana Sakti and Kriya Sakti both are mentioned here. Bhavaha Udyega Unimesha Udyamaha Paribhasyate. It's a very, very cryptic sloka. And that is explained. Nietzsche, there are a lot of people, so he's mentioning why this happens. There is another commentary in which he's saying, the lines are like this. You have different kind of dualities troubling you. All of us are struggling with dualities, multiplicities. Vedanta also tells us how to get rid of it by looking at adhisthana jnana. What is the substratum of all that we see, these dualities? That Atma Vastu. When we have aporoksha jnana of that, then we get liberated. Here, the language is slightly different. Here, the Brahman is not Nirvikara, Nishkriya. It can be Nirvikara and Shavikara at the same time, and it is Vishwamaya and Vishwotirna. That is the slight difference between Advaita Vedanta and this Siva Vada. Because here, God is active. He's not, inactive. He's Purushottama, the way we say in Bhagavad Gita. The God here is similar, very similar. He has all the powers and he can manifest anything. It's all his game in which we are caught up. But he's saying when you are able to, when we do activities, it's called Vyuthana Dasa. When we are in meditation, it's called Samadhi Dasa. You have Bheda Abhavasa initially in both Samadhi and Vyuthana Dasa. Obviously, when you are actually going through the everyday, whatever events are happening in your life, you have to deal with different kind of multiplicities, diversities, and dualities. But in meditation, you can make some efforts and be in a quiet stage when you have that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. But here, what he's saying is when a person is able to realize that Shiva nature, he immediately goes there, and he will mention certain technical jargon are there, that powerful elevation, very quick elevation to that highest level of spiritual being. Once you reach there, there are no dualities, no appearance of dualities, either in Samadhi Dasa or in Bhuthana Dasa. That means even when you are having your lunch, you are going for a walk or anything, you can all the time be established in that supreme unity and bliss and ananda. It's a very, very high state. So you don't have to disengage from samsara to go somewhere and do meditation. Even in your everyday life, you are able to hold your attention because you have already become a Bhairava. Remember this. You have become a Bhairava. The very effort of your meditation makes you a Bhairava. Bhairava doesn't mean you will do some black magic. Bhairava is somebody who saves one from the fear of being entangled in samsara. You are liberated from that. The Trivida Pratibandhakas, you have Sattvika, Tamasika, and Rajasika, or you can say also Trivida Tapas, Adhyatmika, Adhivautika, and Adhidaivika. All these encumbrances, obstacles which hurt our sadhana become powerless because of your quick, elevation to that highest level. How that happens also we will see. You just have to remember one thing. When we are doing initial sadhana, we need to exert a lot of our energy. In Shivadvaita, Kashmir Saivism, the Saktopaya and Sambhavopaya is generally guided with Ishvara Kripa. Remember, there is a sharp difference here. So there is a lot of emphasis laid on bhakti and in upasana because you require kripa of Guru and Ishvara. You need that. That only will elevate you. So you can do your sadhana, but then that divine consciousness, it's like when you are a piece of magnet, I put you in a magnetic field. Are you making any effort to behave like a magnet? No, you behave like a magnet. Once you are induced, there is magnetic induction. Similarly, when you enter into that realm of the Swarupa, without renouncing the Swarupa or the Jnana Sakti and Kriya Sakti, the Swatantra Sakti of Lord Shiva manifests in your meditation, you verily become a Vairava. It's not only for stuti, just to praise and motivate you. They are saying there is nothing beyond it. That itself is the ultimate liberation. Because the fear is that you may be again vulnerable to maybe some desires, maybe some raga dvesha, which are hiding in you, right? That is why in Vedanta you have a word called Jivana Mukta. Your prarabdha is still there, but you have atmagyana, but body will be around. There'll be some sukha dukkha, but that is an appearance. Actually, inside you are liberated. They have a concept called Jivana Mukta. Similarly, this Bhairava word is much beyond that. Whether in your deep meditative state or in your Vyuthana Dasa, when you are interacting with the external world, Bheda Abhavasa, any appearance of duality, You and Lord Shiva, you and Sansara, you and others, these dualities vanish. This is not a static stage. This is a highly pure state of bliss where there is a lot of dynamism. Let's look at all that. Therefore, he's saying then how that happens. He says, look, Guruna pratibodhitaha ityatra gurutaha swatmat pratibodhataha. In Swachanda Tantra, it says that generally this state happens because there is a guru to bless you. And who's that guru? The guru should also include your own higher self because you are guided by your superior spiritual aspiration. Atmano bhairavam rupam भवेद्यस्तु पुरुषः तस्य मंत्रः प्रसिद्ध्यन्ति नित्य युक्तस्य सुंदरी. Bhagavan is telling it to Ma Parvati. Do you know my, oh, beautiful, he's addressing because she's Tripura Sundari. She's blissful. He's saying, oh Sundari, do you know Atmanaha Bhairavam Rupam? That means, you see, our Swarupa is actually Bhairava Rupa. Like we are Nitya Suddha Mukta Swabhavaha in Advaita Vedanta. Bhavayet yastu purushaha, the person who is able to establish themselves through that. Tasya mantraha prasiddhanti. This whatever sadhana he does, it bears fruit. Nitya yuktasya sundari, who is all the time at there. Now, nitya yukta, you remember? In Bhagavad Gita, we have heard this word that you have to do nirantara sadhana, not for 1 day, 2 days, and something like that. Some commentators mention that there is a difference between the udyama. You do some meditation for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, you do some japas and malas and all. There is a very beautiful, very humorous example they're giving. One sadhana is like trying to driving away. You try to drive away the mosquitoes sitting in a garden to meditate. Mosquitoes come and bite you again and again. That is what normal sadhakas are dealing with. They are making a small effort, get some benefit, and again the old problem comes back. This is different from there. You become nitya yukta. That means all the distractions, the cause of distraction is ajnana, because you have that fatantrihani, you don't recognize. So when you will be able to establish yourself, when you have a kind of ascendance, you jump up very quickly from a state of dependence, apurnamanyata. That is what we had done, jnanam bandhaha. Apurnamanyata, I am not full. You have a sense of powerlessness, helplessness. The moment you are in that sweet state of self-dissolution in that Paramashiva Tattva, there the small problems which affect your ego will vanish. They have no room there. The Maya will only trouble the person who is Pratibandha Sahita. He's existing with some obstacles, but all obstacles, either Bhagwan also says in Bhagavad Gita, if you remember, Mama Maya Duratyaya, then immediately saying the only way you can cross over this samsara is to meditate on me. Don't try to understand my game. You're wasting your time. Same here, he's saying, Yasya mantraha prasiddhanti, tasya mantraha prasiddhanti, nitya yuktasya sundari. When there is laya of all your movements, and that layavastha is in your pure self, and then he will mention. And what happens? How that happens? He's saying, Bhavanihi sama antarmukha udyantruta pada vimarsanam eva. So you become antarmukhi, inwardly oriented. That is one critical thing. Udyama. We're discussing about that particular aspect of sadhana now. What is the udyama? He's saying, Ekachinda prasaktasya yataha syad aparodayaha taila dharavati. You have done that in 6th chapter in Bhagavad Gita. We discuss it. Pratyekatanata. So the same thing. Aham Brahmasmi, or you are meditating on Shiva or Rama or anything. So it's like, the Taila Dhara, there are micro, drops of oil that dripping from a source and they're coming down. But it appears as if actually it's a small thread. It's not a thread. like Deepashikha. You have the flames one after the other going, it looks like one flame. Similarly, when you're breathing and you're meditating, you have a recurrence of the same upasana, same thought, same meditation, a recurrence again and again. The moment you have thought about Siva and something, another thought doesn't come. Sajatiya prabriti, same thing again and again you're thinking. And any kind of vijatiya thing, though, you renounce it, you remove it. Any vijatiya pratyaya. That is what he's saying, that eka chinta prasaktasya yatah syad aparodayah. So that keeps repeating itself. Unmesha satu vigyeyaha swayam tam upalakshayet. That vigyeyaha, that is unmesha. Unmesha is that expansion of your Shiva nature. How that happens? Unmesha, the creation starts, and nimesha is sanghara. So, in your highest meditative state, these two, three aspects. So, he's saying udyamaha. What is that udyama? Antaha parispandaha punnaham. Punnaham bhavanatmakaha. Aham punnaha. I am absolutely one with Lord Shiva. I am that thing. I am not inferior. I am not having something lacking in me. When that happens, remember that feeling of a lack of something troubles us, changes us only when we are not in ourselves. You can happen, you talk to anyone. In your own everyday life, you must be feeling it, that you have to give a speech and you don't give a very good speech. You have to submit a report, you don't do it a very good report. You are a cricketer, you're playing and you're not being able to, the bat and ball connection doesn't happen very frequently. And then there's a particular day the same batsman frightens everybody by scoring very fluently without any obstructions. It happens, all sportsmen know this. He's in form, out of form. Now that analogy will help us make sense of this udyama. When we come into the form, what is that in form? Immediately there's an internal alignment and you are one with the absolute Paramashiva. Okay, then there is expansion, this absolute quick expansion. This then he's saying Uchalana Nimajjana. These two words they're saying Uchalana. There is an outpouring of that consciousness in you, and Nimajjana, and you are at the same time you are completely dissolved, you're pinpointed, you are fully there in that, Paramashiva Tattva. That is saying, Udyoma Antaha Parispandaha. Parispandaha, the internal vibration. Anta Parispandaha Punnaham Bhavanatmakaha Saeva Sarvasaktinam Samarasyad Asesataha. Vikalpanam Sarvasaktinam Samarasya. You have these all Saktis. Ananda Sakti, Icha Sakti, Jnana Sakti, Kriya Sakti, Chit Sakti, all these Bhagavan, Lord Shiva Saktis are there. And he's saying all these Sakti, then all these Samarasya, they get unified now. What is that unified form? It's called Swatyantra Shakti. That is Bhagavan's Maya Shakti. And then he says in the next verse, Vishwato bharitatvena vikalpanam vibhedinam. Vishwataha bharitatvena alam kavalaninapi ityanvatha itvanarthad eva bhairavaha. Why he's saying Bhairava? There's a long explanation of it. All these vikalpatmaka bhavanas, the dualities, this one, that one, all that you are having, when the mind resolutely is able to establish itself in that ultimate reality of that Paramashiva Rupa, that Swaswabhava, when you are returning there, then the details lose their importance for you. I'll give you a very good example. You may have all gone through it in your lives. So a guy is a little depressed and restless, and all these things happen. You must have experienced that as children also. One fine evening, you are a little, depressed. You didn't score very well in some class examination. Nothing is happening in the class. A lot of homework. You're completely depressed and stuff like that. And then you receive a phone call. What are the phone call? You have been selected to participate in some debate competition or higher level inter-school competition. What do you have to do? You have to prepare something. And then what? Okay, you will have a tour program or an excursion, you will have a visit, and you'll be given XYZ. Suddenly, your mind lights up and you're free from all disturbances and boredom and depressions, everything that was surrounding you. You get a purpose in life. That we have all experienced during our student when we were little boys. Similarly, saying when a sadhaka is able to connect, Thakur Ramakrishna Paramahansa used to say this again and again. What is sukha and what is dukha? He said sukha is when you are unified with that divinity. When you are one with the divine, there's no disturbance. Everything is perfect. When you are not one with the divine, you have a lot of problems. Then we have problems with ourselves, we have problems with our friends, our relatives, our colleagues, because we are looking for a perfect setting. The problem is that our internal setting has been disturbed, and that we reflect on all of the people around us. When we get realigned, and the all realignment here is not with a certain purpose like to do a project or do this, because that realignment will give you some temporary peace. That realignment is fine for a while, because once that objective is done, then you are again restless. Here we are talking about the highest kind of realignment, where there are no loose ends, there are no fears, and there are no anxieties, and you are established in that. Even if you can be there for a few seconds, I tell you, some of the great practitioners like Lachman Juji has said, even if you're able to go there for a few seconds, few minutes, few hours, your life changes, because it has such a devastating impact on all the adversarial sensitivities and inclinations and digressions and distractions. They get washed away, isn't it? It's like it's like suddenly there's a super flood and there are a lot of environmental problems and it cleans it up. This kind of a thing cleans up this whole system for a while, but slowly again dirt accumulates. But here saying once you are there, then there is no problem anymore. He's saying alam kavalenena api. So when you are being able to sort of win over all these distractions and places and everything, then you are not left with anymore any ahang paripurna shiva swarupa iti taila dharavat. When you are able to meditate on yourself, I am verily that Shiva. And how? Taila dharavat anavachinna bhavanaya. Avachinna bhavana means you are meditating on a school program, marketing, attending a social function, buying something, looking after your house. These are different kind of vishayas. These are vishayavachinna bhavana. Separated by there are objects of your thinking. But this is niravachinna. Anavachinna bhavanaya sarveshang vedanang kabalanina. So you win over this. You are able to defeat this. Tadrika bhavana prayojaka udyamasya bhairavatva sthapanam saivagamacharyanam yuktameva. This commentator is saying that when you are able to do this, okay, so that is verily what will the Shivacharya just mentioned, that you become Vairava. Apicha Ayurveditam. Shruti says, actually, they used to believe that if you consume some ghee, you can live a long life. First of all, in these people who are doing this Vedic chanting and all, they were advised to take a little ghee, because then your voice becomes very strong and you can do mantra ucharanam very fruitfully and very with an impactful chanting you can do. Ayurvedic Hritam, because ghee elongates your life. Actually, now ghee will, reduce your life because of cholesterol. But we are talking about a time where they was to do a lot of physical exercise, and they were getting pure cow ghee. Ayurvedic Hritam ityadi srutau ghritasya ayustvam. Now, this ayu, long life, is associated with ghee, and therefore ghee is referred to as long life. Sakhyat Sakyan eva bhavati. It's actually not directly. Ghee is not equal to long life, but we say that. Similarly, parantu घृतपान द्वारा घृतस्य आयुष्य वर्धकत्वेन. If you take ghee and then it adds, it gives you vitamin A and several other nutrients, and therefore you have longer life. Tatra, so Aishram Opacharikam Eva Eva. So similarly, it's a Opacharika. It is Tutyartham. Similarly, Udyamasya Bhairava Swarupa Avabhasa Hetu Taya. When we do this meditation, the Bhairava Bhava manifests in us. Because it manifests in us through this meditation, this Udyama. Therefore, this Udyama is called Bhairava. Udyama is not directly Bhairava. But if you do that practice, you will have that Shiva Bhava Abhavasa. It will manifest in you. Therefore, that is called Bhairava. He's saying, Avabhasa Hetutaya Udyama Eva Bhairavo Bhavati. That very practice of meditation is itself Bhairava. Bharanat Ramanat Vamanatcha Bhairavaha. Bhairava is what Bharanath. Is Bharta, God's, he sustains us. Ramanath or Ravanath, Ramanath, both the words are used here. Ramanath means he's playing this whole game. He creates and destroys it. Bamanach, he vomits, he creates this sansara out of himself. Bhairavaha. Or there are other ways in which it's also made sense of. Bhirunam abhaya rupaha anaya pitpatya sansarinam abhayadaha. Sansari people are scared. They're scared of sansara. There are uncertainties in life. Today you are very happy, tomorrow you may be sad. So yoga khyamam vahamyam Bhagavan said. Why? Because we have two fears. We want to have what we don't have. We want to retain, hold on to what we have, protect what we have. That khyama and yoga. Bhagavan says, I will give you both. Here he's saying similarly, you whatever you have, you may lose. Whatever you don't have, you may not get. And then you may be in trouble. These are the fears of being in samsara. Who liberates you? Abhayadam, that is Lord Shiva. He's saying Abhayadaha. Veer Bhayam, Sansara Trasaha, that is Veer is Bhaya, Sansara Trasa, fear of the Sansara. Anena Trasena Utpanno Ravaha, then we start shouting like child cries because of hunger, because of fear also we start crying. Ravaha Arthat Akrandaha Veeravaha. Anena Bhiravena Jataha Tad Akrandavatam प्रस्फुरितः अस्येव भैरवस्य संसार भयस्य अयम उद्यमो भैरव रूपः शक्तिपातवसेन विनाशको भवति. So there are two purposes of this udyama, I tell you, that he will discuss as we move forward. One is elimination of the fear factor. Okay? And then whatever is your goal, you have to get it. Otherwise, you will continuously will have to try. So you have to reach somewhere the destination. And both the words are conveyed through this word Bhairava. When you become Bhairava, then you are free from the fears and there is no more effort required. There is an end to this whole struggle. And therefore, that Bhairava thing he's mentioning. Then he uses the word Saktipata Vashena. The Guru does a Saktipata, transfers that spiritual energy to you. But Swachanda Tantra says that you may not meet a Guru. But in your, Lord Shiva can come directly sometimes too. Like, for example, this Purana, Markandeya Purana, he used to take the name of Lord Shiva. When Yamaraja came to take his life, what happened? Lord Shiva appeared there saying, you know what you're doing? You say, I want to take this boy. His time is up. Oh, really? Who are you? I'm Kala. He's saying, I'm Yama. And Lord Shiva smiles, says, do you know who am I? Who are you? I'm Mahakala. You are a very intermediate entity. You don't realize everything is part of my play. I create thousands of yamas and they come and go. There is a sansara, there is a yama. I create and destroy the sansaras at wish. Who are you? And then he returns. Then Markandeya survives and then he, composes the great Markandeya Purana. So, Anyacha Bhani Nakhetrani Irayati iti Viraha Kalaha. So, there are yogis. They are in deep meditation. They are able to overcome time. So Kalaha tam vayanti iti viravaha kalagrasa samadhi rasikaha yoginaha. So kalagrasa, that meditation with itch of time. You have a sense of fear and restlessness when you have to do certain things, and we are caught up in this khanda kala, intermittent time, clock time, as they say. When you are in meditation, you eat up that clock time. Clocks don't make any sense to you. You are beyond of all calendar time, clock time. You're beyond that. So kalagrasa samadhi rasikaha, that meditation with which you overcome this transitory time. Rashikaha, those who relish in it. Who are these? Yoginaha. Yoginaha tesam. Then he's saying, tesan, tesam yamantaraha swabhavaha. So they are the people which is their internal nature. That is also Bhairava. So there are different ways in which this word Bhairava is interpreted by the scholars. Without getting into more and more academic hair splitting on the word Bhairava, there are two ways you can look at it. One is that Bhairava means is the sustainer, the creator, and the destroyer of the samsara is Bhairava. Second meaning, he is the one who relieves you, rescues you out of the fear of this birth and death, this whole cycle, and the anxieties associated with it. There are two meanings of it. So, because of that, you are in that state of Bhairava, or those meditators who put an end to all sense of time and they are in that state of eternity in sadhana. That also can refer to as Bhairava. So, if you do this meditation practice, you are going to be no different from Paramashiva, Aham Bhairavaha. That kind of meditation you can do. So, you will remain there. And so there is this beautiful mention is saying, Samprati bandha samandhasya yen upayana prashamana bhavati sa upaya nirdishyate. Bandha samandhasya. Jnanam bandha, earlier he said this. Okay? Jnanam adhisthana matrika he mentioned in the previous sutra. So what is that root of all ajnana, all bondage that he has discussed? Jnanas, this bandha samandha, we are vulnerable to different kind of means, instances, temptations of bondage. We're getting trapped in it. So there is some sambandha between us. Our Swarupa is Shiva Swarupa, Brahma Swarupa. There is no sambandha. Because of ignorance, we are getting entangled in the samsara all around us. That bandha sambandhasya prasamanam, how to terminate this, how to be free from bondage. सौपाय निर्दिश्यते उद्यमो भैरवः प्रसरणशीलायाः विमर्शात्मिकायाः स्वसंबितो झटिति उच्छलनाकार परप्रतिभो उन्मजना रूप यो असौ पुन्नत्वेन अहंभावात्मको अंत परिस्पंदः स एव उद्यम शब्देन गृह्यते. That he's saying all that, we discussed, he just mentioned in one sentence. He's saying that prasanasilayaha bimarsatmikayaha. So remember this whole activity, this jnana sakti and kriya sakti that were happening, when you are, you're making a turnaround in this whole process and returning to the source consciousness, where you regain your source swarupa and you are still aware of the swatantra sakti out of which the jnana sakti and kriya sakti, everything emanate out of it, right? And then this, so you are going back to that chit sakti, you are there, that swatantra sakti. Therefore all other things you entertain, you enter into that samarasya bhava, then everything becomes easier. Okay, that is what he's saying. So what is that? Two words he mentioned. What is the goal of our sadhana? Prashamana, bandha prashamana, terminating our bondage. And upeya vishranti, you reach your destination, you relax. So both of these things you are trying to. And then what is that vishranti? You do a lot of sadhana. This srushti, there is a lot of discussion in Vedantic literature, Advaita Vedantic literature, There is a Krama Srishti and there is a Sakhyat Srishti or Akrama Srishti. Yugapat Srishti. What is Yugapat Srishti? Because of Ajnana. This whole sansara appears before you as real because of Ajnana, that is Yugapat Srishti. One time everything becomes real to you. Like a person, you give him some sedative or intoxicant, everything goes topsy turvy at one go. That is Yugapat Srishti. Okay? Our delusional reality. What is Krama Srishti? If you look at the Upanishads, they will say, yeah, the Param Brahma becomes Ishvara. From there, he creates the Hiranyagarbha. Then he creates the Pancha Tanmatras, Ahankara, Buddhi, Pancha Tanmatras. And then he creates all this Manaha, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, Pancha Pranas, Pancha Bhutas. All this gets created. Whole process. Then you have seen how these Panchabhutas get created. From Akasa comes Vayu, from Vayu comes Teja, Agni, and from there comes Jala, and from there comes Prithvi. All these long stories we have heard, Krama Srishti. Similarly, in sadhana, you also have Krama and Akrama. There's a Krama sadhana. Therefore, what he's saying, he's saying, Yo ayam uktaha so sambidur udyamo bhairavatmakaha asyasti mahati saktir atikranta krama krama. It is beyond krama sadhana and akrama sadhana. Atikranta krama krama. You are beyond the stage wise effort that you have to do. No. Directly you are reaching that because of Ishvara Kripa or Shaktipata of the Guru. And remember one thing, whenever you talk about Ishvara Kripa or Shaktipata, remember this, you have to all the time presume that idea of adhikara. If you have adhikara, then only you get grace of God. End of the day, grace of God also is a fructification of our previous sadhana when we reach that highest level where depending on the degree of a sadhana, the Ishvara Vibhuti descends into our consciousness and elevates us. It's a complicated process. Either you don't believe in God, a lot of people do it, like the Buddhists, they don't have idea of God. They're saying that how your own sadhana keeps transforming this whole thing, but nevertheless, they do have a lot of pujas and meditation stuff like that. They also believe in some divine intervention, whether they use the word God or Atma or not, makes no difference. They worship Tara, they worship Manjusha, they worship Tathagata, Avalokiteshwara. They are different divinities, but not the Hindu divinities in that sense, but they are these different powers of Buddha, they say. Buddha nature, what we call Brahman, they call it Sunya or Buddha nature or whatever. Makes no difference. These are linguistic problems. There is some highest level of transcendent power, or you can say that divinity or that reality, whichever way you want to express it, that the moment you connect, it transforms you. You get into that magnetic field, you become like a magnet. In that sense, it happens with you. So when you are there, you have these Navadha rasas. All these rasas, you have Samarasya when all that get dissolved. So what are these? You have this Navadha Bhakti and Navadha rasas are there in different. If you study the literature, you will get all this. Rodra Udvadasya Sringaro Hasyam Viro Daya Tatha Bhayanakasya Vivatsaha Shantaha Saprema Bhaktikaha. So different kind of Navadha Bhaktis and Navadha rasas are there. Sringara Rasa, Shanta Rasa, Vivatsha Rasa, Bhaya Rasa. All these different ways of manifestation of the emotions. He's saying all these are, if you put them together, so because of anugraha, you are able to transcend this. Okay? And you are being able to experience that at one go. So for today, we will stop here. And when we meet on Saturday, we'll go forward because of also there are not too many participants today. So we'll take it forward on Saturday. Any questions you have, Navgan, or any questions, any doubts?
Yes, I mean, one general question. You talked about Yamaras and all these gods like Indra, Yamaras, all this. So, are they actually for a fixed for this universe only? This universe in the sense that particular for this time, and when the universe will collapse or it will vanish, come to an end. So, oh, will all these god or all these demigods will also vanish and some other things will come? It's
You
something like
see,
that.
yeah, yeah. So Bhagavan makes it very clear in Bhagavad Gita. Abrahma bhumanath lokaha punaravartino Arjuna. He says very clearly. So you see, all the gods and demigods, they are also jivas. Because of lot of sadhana, they have got this divinity and they are not liberated. And therefore, Indra had gone to Prajapati in Chandogya Upanishad. He had to do 105 years of sadhana to get Atmajnana. Narada, again a Devarshi, he met Sanat Kumara, and Sanat Kumara gave him advice. So all these devatas are not Atmajnanis. And when Mahapralaya happens, you remember that there is nothing there. So gods and goddesses cannot exist at all because Upanishad says Sadeva Swamya Idamagra Asid Ekameva Advitiyam. Then he says Asadeva Swamya Idamagra Asid Ekameva Advitiyam. So Asad means Avyakrita. Is everything becomes non-manifest, everything goes into the Vijavastha. It's called Layavastha. So the Vijavastha. That means we then, after Pralaya now, how do you come again? Why should you? There are two kinds of creations. These are Anugraha Sariras, the gods, the divinities, these are avatars. They don't get born on earth because they have any Ragadvesha. They are coming here to serve others. It's because of our karma that God will come having an avatar. That is the theory. He has no karma of his own. So, he Sambhavami Yuge Yuge, he comes to assume a human form to help others. And why he will be born, there has to be some karma siddhanta, what is the causal factor there? It is our punya karmas that Bhagwan comes, or it is the papa karmas of the Asuras that he comes to fulfill the dual purpose of elevating, protecting the pious ones and to punish and eliminate the noxious ones or the disturbing elements to create some balance. And he goes back. And remember this, everything that is there in the sansara is trigunatmika. There will be some problems. The sansara God may have to come again and again depending on how powerful is our devotion. But to put it, cut it short and put an end to the long discussion, long conversation, during Mahapralaya, so you have this waking state and sleeping state of Brahmaji. So then when he goes to sleep, there is a termination. When he wakes up again, there is a creation. That is one level of creation. But then there is a Mahapralaya, it's 3.11 trillion years, where Lord Brahma himself, Brahmaloka, everything, all devatas and everything, they get terminated. There is nothing there. So they get into what? They get destroyed for good? No, they'll get into a sleep mode. So in Ishvara, in that Karanavastha, they will all stay there. And when again the creation starts, they'll again come back. So a tiny insect, a human being who is good or bad, all gods, goddesses, trees, everything, they get into the causal mode. And they will again become effect mode when creation starts. So all gods and goddesses lose their individual existence and their activities and powers and everything because they all enter into the causal on manifest state during this complete Mahapralaya. And then they'll again come back into presence. This is about the theological narration of what happens. Similarly, in physics, if you look at it, just imagine the black hole. Just imagine that, well, the Big Bang happened. Before that, what was there? Big Bang cannot happen out of nothing. So there was something. Just accept that. You can imagine that is that Vijavastha or Karanavastha. And then there you have evolution and everything. You never know when everything sort of gets back into that null void where everything enters into that causal form. We have only a few concepts in physics to sort of help us imagine what happens in Mahapralaya. But no gods and goddesses, no human beings, no one is there. There's only Parameshwara. And that Parameshwara without that Maya Shakti is Brahman. In Advaita Vedanta, in Shiva Advaita, and in the Vaishnava Vishishta Advaita, that Bhagavan is there, he's supreme. So he is created. So therefore, they are saying the Brahmana or Advaita Vedanta is Pangu for Shiva Advaitavadis of Kashmir. So he's saying that Lord Shiva, the Parama Shiva, he has this Bimarsha Sakti and an Nimesha, everything gets destroyed, everything gets created. Atmagopanatmaka Krida, that's a game he's playing, disguises himself. Therefore, we have the samsara. And when he withdraws everything, we get withdrawn. So that is how we make sense of it. All other demigods and divinities, these are intermediate realities. They are not permanent realities. There's nothing permanent. The only permanent thing is Brahman, or call it Paramashiva, or call it Purushottama, or Vishnu, or Sakti for the Saktas. But the supreme divinity alone is real. All other things manifest, appear, and disappear into its own cause, which is the Parameshwara. So with that, we'll conclude it here, and we'll again meet again Saturday and take it forward. Om Purnamadaha
Purnamadaः Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya
Vasishyate. Om
Om
Shanti
Shanti Shanti
Shanti,
Shanti
Shanti.
Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
Have a good day.
Pranam sir. Thank you.